I became a father with the best of intentions. My own childhood was filled with academic pressure and constant belittlement from my father. I swore I would do better, be more supportive. Yet here I was, standing in our empty living room, the void where Logan's gaming setup once sat, now a glaring reminder of my failure. One rash decision to sell his PS4 had shattered our family. My stepson, now living with his uncle, my biological children, avoiding me and my wife Amanda, sleeping in the guest room. The home once filled with laughter now echoed with silence. Before I share how everything fell apart, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button, and subscribe if you want to hear how I almost lost my family forever. I work in software development, climbing the corporate ladder through sheer determination despite my academic struggles growing up. My father never let me forget how I disappointed him with my average grades. The constant criticism shaped me in ways I never fully understood until it was almost too late. Those childhood wounds festered into a perfectionism that I mistakenly believed would protect my children from experiencing the same pain. When I met Amanda 6 years ago, the connection was immediate and powerful. She was a single mother to 8-year-old Logan, and I admired her strength and dedication. Our relationship progressed quickly, and soon we were a family. 2 years after marrying Amanda, we welcomed our son Zach, followed by our daughter Lily 2 years later. The transition to a blended family had its challenges, but Logan and I formed a bond that made my heart swell with pride. The first time he called me Dad instead of Ross, I had to turn away so he would not see the tears in my eyes. We built a comfortable life in a suburban neighborhood with good schools. Our 2-story home became the place where neighborhood kids gathered to play video games and swim in our backyard pool. Amanda worked part-time as a nurse at the local hospital, while I provided the primary income. We were not wealthy, but we lived comfortably and could provide opportunities I never had growing up. Logan developed a passion for video games early in our relationship. Initially, I encouraged this interest, seeing gaming as a reward for maintaining good grades. When he turned 13 last year, I surprised him with a PlayStation 4 after he brought home straight, as on his report card. The look of pure joy on his face as he unwrapped that gift is a memory I cherish, especially now. Over the past year, Logan demonstrated remarkable responsibility in balancing his academics with his gaming hobby. He established a routine where homework came first, followed by limited gaming time before dinner. After family time in the evenings, he could play for another hour before bed on weeknights, with more flexibility on weekends. I was impressed by his self-discipline and often bragged to friends about how my teenage son managed his time better than many adults I knew. While our family life seemed picture-perfect from the outside, pressure was mounting for me at work. A recent promotion came with a significant salary increase, but also demanded 60-plus-hour work weeks. The stress followed me home, where I found myself snapping at minor irritations and struggling to be present with my family. My own father, never one to offer encouragement, called regularly to question my parenting approach. His voice would echo in my head. "You are too soft on those kids, especially the stepson. He needs a firmer hand." Though I outwardly rejected his outdated methods, his words planted seeds of doubt. Was I being too lenient? Would my children end up struggling like I did because I failed to push them hard enough? Financial strain added to my stress after we completed a home renovation that went significantly over budget. The monthly mortgage payments increased at the same time. My father needed an expensive medical procedure not fully covered by insurance. Though I never shared these worries with my family, the weight of responsibility grew heavier each day. Sleep deprivation became my constant companion as I lay awake worrying about work deadlines and family obligations. My temper shortened, and Amanda began giving me concerned looks when I overreacted to minor issues. Looking back, I can see all the warning signs of a breaking point approaching. But in the moment, I was blind to how my behavior was changing. When Logan started high school this fall, the academic expectations increased substantially. He enrolled in the advanced program at a prestigious school known for sending graduates to Ivy League universities. My anxiety about his future college prospects intensified as I recalled how my own limited education options stemmed from mediocre high school performance. I began setting higher expectations for his study time, requiring him to spend at least 3 hours on homework each evening, regardless of whether he claimed to be finished. Logan consistently completed his assignments in less time, maintaining as in all subjects. Rather than celebrating his efficiency, I grew suspicious. How could he possibly complete complex work so quickly? No one in my family had ever been academically gifted, so I struggled to believe Logan could breeze through assignments that would have taken me twice as long at his age. My frustration continued building after attending a parent-teacher conference where all of Logan's teachers praised his work. His math teacher described him as exceptionally bright, while his English teacher highlighted his analytical thinking. Instead of feeling proud, I felt skeptical. Had educational standards fallen so far that average work now received such glowing reviews, I could not shake the feeling that the teachers were missing something important. Following the conference, I implemented an even stricter study schedule, requiring Logan to show me completed work before he could play any video games. He adapted quickly, still finishing assignments efficiently and finding time for his PlayStation. Each evening I would check his homework looking for errors or signs of rushed work, but found nothing obvious to criticize. His answers were correct, his essays well written. Yet instead of recognizing his abilities, I became more convinced he must be cutting corners somehow. The day everything changed started like any other, except worse. My project at work faced significant delays after a client changed requirements at the last minute. My team looked to me for solutions I did not have. During lunch, my father called to remind me that my cousin's son had just received acceptance letters from 3 Ivy League schools. He not so subtly suggested that Logan would never achieve similar results under my permissive parenting. I arrived home exhausted and irritable, walking through the door to the sound of Logan's video game blasting from the living room. The clock showed just after 4:30, too early for him to have completed the additional calculus problems I had assigned that morning. A surge of anger rose in my chest as I dropped my laptop bag and marched toward the noise. Logan sat cross-legged on the floor, controller in hand, completely absorbed in his game. He jumped when I cleared my throat loudly behind him. "I assigned you extra math problems this morning," I said, my voice tight. "How are you already playing games?" Logan paused his game and looked up at me, his expression open and innocent. "I finished everything during study hall. The calculus was pretty basic once I figured out the pattern." His casual dismissal of work I knew to be challenging pushed me further toward the edge. I demanded to see his completed assignment, which he quickly retrieved from his backpack. The pages were filled with neat calculations and correct answers, but something still felt wrong. "This is advanced material," I said, flipping through the pages. "There is no way you understood and completed all of this so quickly." Logan tried explaining his approach to the problems, pointing out shortcuts he had discovered, but the methods were beyond my understanding. Rather than acknowledging his superior grasp of the subject, I assumed he must have found answers online or copied from a classmate. "You are clearly not taking your education seriously," I said, my voice rising. "This is your future we are talking about. You cannot just rush through assignments to get back to your games." "But Dad, I did all the work correctly." Logan protested, frustration evident in his voice. "You can check my answers. They are right." Instead of listening, I fixated on the PlayStation. That machine, I decided in my anger, was the source of all our problems. It distracted him from reaching his full potential. It encouraged laziness and shortcuts. Without thinking through the consequences, I unplugged the console and picked it up. "What are you doing?" Logan asked, alarm, replacing frustration. "This is a distraction you clearly cannot handle," I replied. "Until you learn to take your schoolwork seriously, you do not deserve this." Logan followed me as I carried the PlayStation to my home office, explaining his efficient study methods, how he used online resources to learn concepts ahead of the class, how the games actually helped him relax and focus better on schoolwork afterward. I dismissed every explanation as an excuse, locking the console in my desk drawer before ordering him to go back to his studies. That night, after the family went to sleep, I made a decision that would fracture our family. I listed the PlayStation on an online marketplace, complete with all games and accessories. By morning, I had multiple offers. I accepted the highest one and arranged to meet the buyer during my lunch break the following day. The transaction took less than 5 minutes in a coffee shop parking lot. Cash in hand, I felt a momentary satisfaction at having taken decisive action to correct what I perceived as a growing problem. The confrontation occurred that afternoon when Logan returned from school, eager to serve his punishment and reclaim his gaming privileges. When he discovered the PlayStation missing from my office, he searched the house before confronting me in the kitchen. "Where is my PS4?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I sold it," I replied flatly. "You need to focus on your education, not waste time on video games." The color drained from his face. "You sold it. That was mine. You gave it to me for my birthday." Amanda entered the kitchen during this exchange, her expression shifting from confusion to shock as she realized what had happened. "You did what she asked incredulously. Ross, that was his birthday present." A present with conditions, I insisted, doubling down rather than acknowledging my error. "He has not been taking his studies seriously enough." Logan's initial shock transformed into something worse, a cold, betrayed silence. Tears welled in his eyes, but did not fall, as he stared at me with an expression I had never seen before. "His grades are all." As Amanda said, her voice rising, "What more do you want from him?" "I want him to live up to his potential," I shot back. "Not rush through assignments to play games." The argument escalated as Zach and Lily crept into the kitchen wide-eyed and frightened by the raised voices. Logan finally spoke, his voice eerily calm through his obvious pain. "I am calling Uncle Jack," he said, pulling out his phone. Amanda's brother Jack had always been close to Logan, maintaining their bond even after I entered the picture. An hour after the call, Jack's car pulled into our driveway. Logan had already packed a bag, intending to stay with his uncle for a while. I stood in the doorway, my anger now giving way to unease as I realized this situation had spiraled beyond my control. Amanda confronted me in the entryway after Logan left with Jack. "What you did was not parenting," she said, her voice low and intense. "It was controlling and abusive. That was his property that you gave him. You had no right to sell it." Her words stung, but pride prevented me from acknowledging their truth. Instead, I retreated to defending my actions as necessary for Logan's academic future. Amanda shook her head in disappointment before walking away, leaving me alone with my righteous indignation. That night, the silence at the dinner table was deafening. Zach and Lily ate quickly before asking to be excused, avoiding eye contact with me. Amanda spoke only when necessary, her responses clipped and cold. The empty chair where Logan usually sat seemed to grow larger as the meal progressed. That night, Amanda slept in the guest room for the first time in our marriage. The days following Logan's departure were some of the most difficult of my life. Our home, once warm and vibrant, felt cold and tense. Amanda continued sleeping in the guest room, leaving for her nursing shifts without saying goodbye. My attempts to discuss the situation were met with one-word answers or uncomfortable silence. Zach and Lily began treating me like a stranger, speaking only when directly addressed and hurrying to their rooms after dinner. When I tried to engage them in our usual weekend activities, they declined, claiming homework or tiredness. I overheard Lily asking Amanda if they had done something wrong to make me angry, wondering if I would sell their things too. The fear in her voice cut through my stubborn defensiveness. My work performance suffered as I struggled to concentrate. Colleagues noticed my distraction during meetings, and my boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was all right at home. I brushed off his concerns, unwilling to admit that my family was falling apart because of my actions. Each night I returned to an increasingly silent house, the distance between me and my loved ones growing wider. Despite the obvious consequences, I clung to the belief that I had done the right thing. Logan would eventually understand the importance of academic excellence. Amanda would recognize my intentions were good, even if my methods were harsh. The children would forget their fear once normalcy returned. I told myself these things, even as evidence mounted, that I had made a terrible mistake. Everything changed when I was searching for an important document in the hall closet and discovered a folder I had never seen before. Inside were dozens of academic awards and certificates Logan had never mentioned. Honor roll recognitions, math competition placements, a science fair victory, and a letter of commendation from the principal for helping younger students with tutoring. Most were dated from the past year, a period when I had been increasingly critical of his study habits. That discovery led me to check his school email account, which I had access to as his parent. My hands shook as I scrolled through messages from teachers, praising his exceptional work, offering him advanced learning opportunities, and suggesting he consider taking college courses during his senior year. One teacher specifically mentioned Logan's unique ability to grasp concepts quickly, noting that he often completed assignments in class that other students struggled with as homework. I searched his computer history, expecting to find evidence of gaming websites during school hours. Instead, I found educational videos, online courses, and academic forums where Logan had been learning calculus concepts far beyond his grade level. The truth crashed down on me with devastating clarity. Logan was not rushing through his work to play games. He was legitimately brilliant, completing his assignments quickly because he understood the material at a level I could not comprehend. The PlayStation had not been a distraction from his studies. It had been his well-earned reward for excelling academically. And I, blinded by my insecurities and my father's critical voice in my head, had punished him for being exceptional. This realization brought me to my knees in our home office, overwhelmed by the magnitude of my mistake. I had projected my academic struggles onto Logan, unable to recognize his gifts because they were so different from my own experiences. Worse, I had betrayed his trust in the most fundamental way, taking something precious from him, not because he had done anything wrong, but because I could not accept that he was succeeding in ways I never had. The following day, I drove to Jack's apartment, desperate to apologize and make things right. Jack met me at the door, his expression stern and protective. "Logan does not want to see you right now," he said firmly. "And honestly, I do not blame him. Please, I just need 5 minutes to apologize," I pleaded. Jack crossed his arms. "Do you even understand what you are apologizing for? Because it is not just about the PlayStation." When I hesitated, Jack continued, his voice low and intense. "That kid has been killing himself trying to meet your impossible standards. Do you know he stays up after you think he is asleep to do extra credit assignments? That he worries constantly about disappointing you? He told me he sometimes deliberately works slowly on assignments when you are watching because you get suspicious if he finishes too quickly." Each word felt like a physical blow. Jack went on explaining how Logan had confided his fear of never being good enough, no matter how well he performed. As I stood there, absorbing these painful truths, my phone buzzed with a message from Amanda. "We need to talk about separation if things do not change. I will not let my son be emotionally abused." The drive home was a blur. I pulled over twice, unable to see through my tears. In the silence of my parked car, my father called. As he launched into his usual criticism of my parenting, something inside me finally broke. I interrupted him mid-sentence. "I have to go, Dad, and I will not be taking parenting advice from you anymore." His surprised silence was the last thing I heard before ending the call. In that moment, I recognized that I had been allowing my father's toxic influence to poison my relationship with my own son. The realization was both terrifying and liberating. That evening, I researched family therapists in our area and scheduled an appointment for the following day. The therapist, Dr. Keller, listened without judgment as I poured out the whole story, including my childhood, the pressure I felt as a provider, and my terrible mistake with Logan. "What you are describing," she said gently, after I finished, "is a pattern of projecting your insecurities onto your stepson. Your father's parenting style created wounds that you have never fully healed, and now you are at risk of continuing that cycle." Over the next few sessions, Dr. Keller introduced me to the concept of autonomy-supportive parenting, an approach that encourages children's independence within appropriate boundaries. She helped me understand how my controlling behavior stemmed from fear rather than love, and how it was damaging not just Logan, but all my family relationships. With her guidance, I made the decision to change my parenting approach entirely, regardless of whether my family could forgive me. As part of my commitment to change, I purchased a new PlayStation 5, not as a bribe to win Logan back, but as a genuine acknowledgement of my wrongdoing and his right to pursue his interests. The path to healing began with a letter I wrote to Logan after 2 weeks of therapy. I poured my heart into every word, taking full responsibility for my actions without making excuses. I acknowledged his academic brilliance and apologized for failing to recognize and support his unique abilities. I promised to respect his autonomy and explain the steps I was taking to become a better parent and person. I ended by saying I would understand if he could not forgive me, but that I would always be ready to rebuild our relationship whenever he might be ready. Amanda agreed to meet me for coffee after receiving a copy of the letter. I shared what I had learned in therapy about my father's influence on my parenting style and my commitment to change. Though skeptical, she saw enough sincerity in my efforts to give me another chance to prove myself. Logan is the priority here, she said firmly. He needs to know he is valued for who he is, not what he achieves. I nodded, understanding now what should have been obvious all along. With Amanda's cautious support, I began implementing a new parenting approach with Zach and Lily. Gone were the rigid homework schedules and excessive academic pressure. Instead, I focused on supporting their interests and celebrating their efforts rather than just results. Initially, they responded with confusion and wariness, clearly expecting my old controlling behavior to return at any moment. Small moments of reconnection came gradually. Zach tentatively asked for help with a science project, and I focused on making it fun rather than perfect. Lily invited me to watch her practice dance in the living room, and I cheered enthusiastically without a single corrective comment. Their surprise at my positive responses revealed how much damage my previous approach had caused. The most difficult step was confronting my father about his negative influence on my parenting. During a phone call, I calmly but firmly established boundaries around his comments about my children. "I love you, Dad, but I will not allow you to undermine my relationship with my kids the way you undermined my self-confidence growing up," I told him. His stunned silence was followed by anger, then grudging respect. Our relationship remains strained, but healthier boundaries are now in place. After 3 weeks of separation, Logan agreed to meet me at a cafe near Jack's apartment. The sight of him sitting stiffly at a corner table, thinner and more guarded than before, broke my heart. The conversation was difficult, with long silences and careful words. "I never meant to hurt you," I said, after apologizing again. "But you did," Logan replied simply. "You made me feel like nothing I did was ever good enough." I know, I admitted, and that was about my issues, not yours. "You are extraordinary, Logan. I was just too caught up in my own insecurities to see it." We talked for nearly 2 hours, Logan gradually opening up about the pressure he had felt, trying to meet my impossible standards. He explained how video games provided a mental break that actually helped him focus better on academics afterward. Something research supported, but I had never bothered to learn. We agreed to start rebuilding slowly with short family dinners and weekend visits. The first dinner with Logan back at our table was tense conversation, stilted and careful. But when Zach accidentally knocked over his water glass and I simply helped clean up without criticism, I caught a flash of surprise in Logan's eyes. And later, when Lily told a silly joke that made everyone groan, Logan laughed for the first time in my presence since the PlayStation incident. That small sound of joy felt like the first ray of sunlight after months of darkness. Family therapy became our weekly commitment, providing a safe space for everyone to express their feelings. Logan spoke about feeling like an outsider despite my previous assurances that he was my son in every way that mattered. Zach and Lily revealed their fear of making mistakes and triggering my anger. Amanda shared her heartbreak at watching my relationship with Logan deteriorate, despite her attempts to intervene. Each painful revelation became an opportunity for healing, as I listened without defensiveness and acknowledged the hurt I had caused. 2 months after our separation, Logan moved back home. The day he returned, I presented him with the PlayStation 5, explaining it was not a bribe, but a replacement for what I had wrongfully taken. More importantly, I had created a designated gaming space in the bonus room, where he could play without judgment or interruption. His cautious smile as he set up the new console was worth more than any academic achievement. In the months that followed, I learned to support without controlling. When Logan mentioned interest in a computer programming course, I offered resources without pushing. When he struggled with a particular English assignment, I asked how I could help rather than taking over. Each small interaction became an opportunity to demonstrate my changed approach. Amanda and I gradually reconnected as partners and parents, rebuilding trust through consistent action and open communication. The night she returned to our bedroom after months in the guest room felt like a new beginning. "I am proud of the work you are doing," she whispered as we fell asleep side by side. 6 months after the PlayStation incident, our family had found a new harmony. Logan was thriving academically, now taking advanced placement courses that genuinely challenged his abilities. More importantly, he was pursuing his interests without fear of criticism, including joining a competitive gaming team at school that I enthusiastically supported by attending their tournaments. Zach and Lily no longer tiptoed around me, instead bringing problems and questions to me with confidence that they would receive support rather than judgment. Our home once again rang with laughter and conversation, the silence of those dark days replaced by the beautiful chaos of family life. My relationship with my father remains complicated, but I no longer allow his criticism to influence my parenting decisions. My weekly therapy sessions continue helping me recognize and address the insecurities that nearly destroyed my family. The journey is ongoing, requiring constant vigilance against falling back into old patterns. But the results are worth every difficult moment of self-reflection. Looking back, I realize now that control is an illusion that destroys trust. By projecting my insecurities onto Logan, I nearly lost the beautiful, brilliant person he is. True parenting is not about molding children into what we think they should be, but supporting them as they discover who they already are. I am grateful every day for the second chance my family gave me. The path to becoming a better parent continues, but now I walk it with humility and awareness rather than rigid expectations and fear. What about you? Have you ever realized you were repeating harmful patterns from your own childhood? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of parental growth and family healing. Thank you for listening. And remember that the greatest gift we can give our children is the freedom to become their authentic selves.